Is that a gold chain I see?
Yeah, Baby Ice Records. You know, I just got signed.
It's something about the girl that just makes my head.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Baby Ice Entertainment.
We love it.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to spit a verse for us? Baby Ice Records.
I don't freestyle for free.
And that's on who? The man had a little lamb.
Oh.
Wow.
All right. Hey, guys. You know where it's at here at the Hotline Chat. It's the conversation for me.
It's the authenticity for me. Yours is extra. Go ahead.
Don't be a hater.
It's the friendship and the good vibe for me. Ra-ta-ta-ta.
Why y'all shoot it up every time we start?
I'm in the ghetto. Ra-ta-ta-ta.
It's something about ra-ta-ta-ta, you know?
Wow. So anyways, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. How's everybody doing? I know y'all two in the ATL right now. So how's that? Lo had a what is that, a fedora you said it was called?
Fedora, whatever.
Yeah, so you already know, you know the vibes there. So how's it been out there?
I feel bad because I'm a student and she's basically stuck with me in the apartment.
I've still been able to do some stuff.
But, you know, the streets are hot and we're not trying to catch COVID.
Caught this little number on Netflix called I Care a Lot. You ever seen the movie Gone Girl?
Yes.
Yes.
The main woman in that is in this. When I tell you this movie, there's no good guys in this movie. Just watch it when you got a chance. I don't want to give it away, but yo, when I say it's a good movie, it's good, G. Like Netflix ain't hit me with a good movie in a while, and that was a pretty good movie. Okay. So check that out. But on to the topic today. Look at it. They gotta fix themselves. Okay, all right. Oh, let's get a pillow. On to the topic today. The topic today is forgiveness. Forgiveness. So I'm gonna ask y'all. Do you think you are a forgiving person?
Yes, I forgive, but not forget. Because I don't want that bad karma of me like carrying, you know, not forgiving somebody for their actions or however they did me wrong, but I never forget. And when I say I cut you off, I completely cut you off. We could be seeing each other every single day because of work or whatever. You do not exist in my life. I will treat you like you're an object, like you're at this desk, cut you off. But I forgive you. But you're cut off.
All right.
I think I'm a very forgiving person. And I think that some things are easier to forgive than others. So I've learned that as forgiving as I think I am, there are areas that I still need to work on. So yeah, I would say I strive to forgive though, because in my faith, forgiveness like blocks your blessings, it stifles your relationship with God.
Right.
And so because of that reason, I strive to forgive, but the process of forgiveness can be really, really tough. So, you know, sometimes it's a process and it's not as easy.
Right.
How
about you?
For myself,
I don't forget either. I have crystal clear memory.
I bet. Y'all just not forgetting over there. For me, no, I'm not really a forgiving person. To be honest with you, I hold grudges, and
I remember saying this a while ago.
I will hold a grudge until I die. To be honest with you, and it is not like something that weighs on me. I would literally. Like, I think what you just said, I was like, I don't care about it. It's over. The relationship is done and everything like that. but I will hold a grudge. Like to be honest with you, it'd be World War II. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, like I don't, you know, I don't know. I just can't, I'm not forgiving like that. And I've accepted that, to be honest with you. But like what Lo said, some things are easier to forgive than others. Not saying that I've never forgave in my life, but there are certain things that till this day I won't forgive, and then I don't see it being forgiven in the future. So yeah, that's how I come.
Damn.
Hey man, you know what I'm saying? God forgives, I don't. You know what I'm talking about? You know?
Find the process of forgiving easy instead of holding grudge. Because when I hold a grudge, every time I see you, I feel the pain of what you caused me. But when I forgive, I do not feel that pain. You know, I can see you. I'll, like I said, depending on what you've done to me, right? That's the level. But when I forgive you, you can exist around me and not exist. I don't care. The pain does not come back because I just,
there's freedom,
gave it up.
Yeah, I know, like people always used to say forgiveness is for you and not the other person. And I remember like thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, how's it for me? Like I'm the one who, you know, so I never understood that statement until I actually started prioritizing forgiveness. That's when I realized, oh, it actually is for me, because while I'm over here upset, you know, or while I'm over here sad, or while I'm over here feeling what I'm feeling, this other person is living their life and has no weight from whatever, you know? And so the more anger that I have, I'm ruining my day. The more resentment that I have, I'm blocking my relationships, you know? Yeah, my blessings. And so I never understood it until I started really putting it into practice. And that's when I realized, I said, wow, like forgiveness is really for you, because now you don't have to carry the weight of this situation.
So I'm gonna give y'all something that this is gonna probably be a hard question, and maybe let me know if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. What's the hardest thing you ever had to forgive? I can go first if you want to, if you need time.
Go ahead.
So I was talking, I was at work. What was this? It's probably November, December or whatnot. And I was given, in the beginning of the day, we have these, what we call downloads, and we talk about things and stuff of that nature. So one day what I do, cause I think we were closed at the time and we're doing over like a Zoom or WebEx. And so what I usually try to do is give a message in everyone. So I one of my things was talking about one of your biggest accomplishments of 2020. And mine was forgiveness of my father. The reason I say that is because me and my father, since I've become an adult, haven't had the best relationship. Reason being is because at the end of the day, he's very stubborn, right? So it's kind of like it's hard to talk to him. And he's like unrealistically religious now all of a sudden now. So it's kind of a thing where like sometimes he be saying something like nigga, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? And like at his old age, I think he's paranoid about things. So one day I had a talk with him, because sometimes what he does is he talks himself up about how great of a dad he was. And you know, it's funny how people only remember the good things and don't remember, they don't know what you were going through because they weren't around like that. So like I had to talk with him. I had to explain, like when him and my mother got divorced, you know, we went to a town that, you know, wasn't very accepting of us. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't know these people. We came from somewhere else. We didn't know these people at all. And like everything that we learned from experience. You didn't teach us how to talk to girls. You didn't teach us how to fight. You didn't teach us any of that. Like you came around and you were good to like bring us, like anytime a birthday came around, you had video games for us. And as an adult, I think what it was is like you get a parent that always comes around and gives you a good time. And you think of him as like, yeah, this is the greatest dad ever, because he always gives you the great time when you go see him, and you with mom all the time, right? And mom be tripping sometimes. But as an adult, you kind of see the bullshit, and you be like, okay, this is what the bullshit is right here. And so I had to talk with him because like my brother doesn't talk to him at all. My brother hasn't talked to him in probably over 10 years. And like usually when I go back to Michigan, I have a talk. I go and see him because he just be by himself, and he had a stroke like a few years ago. But I told him like, I forgive him, you know what I'm saying? Because I know he's just human, and he's fallible, and he's not the perfect dad, but he never just left us or anything like that. But there are some flagrant things. Like I gave him a example of one day we were raking a yard. I think I was in middle school, like 8th grade or something like that. He called me to the front yard. There was some boy walking across the street, and he said, my middle name is Jules. He was like, Jules, I want you to go fight him. I said, nigga, what? Like, I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, who? Like, I don't know this dude. You know what I'm saying? And I said, no. And then he was like, well, what are you good for? And then sent me in the backyard, right? And after that day kind of changed my relationship with him forever. Like after that, I kind of looked at him like I even told my mom, like, I don't want to go to my dad's house no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not, I didn't like it anymore. And so after that, I started seeing the cracks in the pavement, or what you want to say. And that's why, like, I think in December we had a conversation, and he said he don't remember it, but niggas always forget the other shit. But it just, for me, I just had to let him know how I really felt, because for so long I kind of let him talk. And I told him, like, my mom never talked bad about you. She never told us anything bad about you as a little kid, but you seem to have all these bad things to talk about her because you're stuck at where you're at, and you're mad at the world because you are where you are, and then she is where she is. And but we had a good conversation, and we came to a good good place there. But that's one of the hardest things to forgive, because again, like, I can't, like, he is my father and I love him, but it's hard to, what he did, some of the things were like so old school and so like how can I say this? I don't know how to say, but this old school shit that doesn't fit where we were, that it was kind of a thing where, like, it was traumatizing, but I wouldn't be who I am now if not for those things, because there's like a double-edged sword to that. But yeah, that would be one of the hardest things I had to forgive.
I'm just so emotional. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay.
He's like, okay. Nigga, just say whatever.
You're welcome.
Whatever. Thank you for sharing.
No problem. Yeah, no, welcome.
Yeah. I really do not have all my forgiveness or petty things, like fights I've had with like people that I considered really good friends, or like, it's not as serious as, a father-son relationship, but it's just petty fights, like, people that I considered friends talking about me and hearing those things, or like nothing as intense as yours. So I really don't not have an experience that I can recall.
Yeah.
But I know I've cut a lot of people because they've done me wrong, and I just forgave them and I just blocked them out of my life. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, child, forgiven so many people, I feel like. So I would say two things. Right now I'm in the process. So when you first mentioned that you were going to bring this topic to the podcast, I was just like, dang, look at the timing of it all. Because I'm in the process of forgiving someone for so I was molested when I was a kid, and the person who touched me was someone that I knew. And so going through the process of forgiving that person is very difficult. And then I also think forgiving, because we have expectations on like how we view our parents and what our parents should have given us. And even if you have the best parents in the world, as a child, there's always going to be something that you feel like you didn't receive. And so one of the things that was also really difficult for me is forgiving my parents for things that I felt like they didn't do, or just for the way that I grew up, as far as always having to be responsible, always taking care of, my emotional and mental well-being, or just like a lot of different things. Unfortunately for me, I've been through a lot of different trauma. And so one of the things that, like I said, I try to really focus on is forgiveness. And I would say another key area that's difficult, and I've realized is difficult for not just me, but a lot of people, is forgiving yourself. Because oftentimes we can find ourselves in situations where, an outcome or a result of something is not what we intended or expected.
Right.
And so because we're the ones that are experiencing it, can sometimes go and attack ourselves and be like, how come you allowed this to happen? How come you weren't aware of this? How come X, Y, and Z? And that was definitely something that I did, especially once I decided to drop out of college, because that was such a big thing for me at that time. I was just like, dang, like, you're a failure. Like, how come you did this? How come, like, you just really beat yourself up. So I had to forgive myself for not knowing, because if we know, then we can do something different. But we don't give ourselves grace a lot of the times in situations, because we have desires that we want to fulfill. And when those desires aren't fulfilled, or they don't manifest the way that we expect, we beat ourselves up for it. So I've learned to be a little more kind to myself throughout the process of making mistakes, because we're all human. And I've also learned that those moments where I'm like, dang, how come, you did this? Those are the moments where I can really look and see, what is it that I didn't see? What is it that I wasn't aware of? What was my blind spot? And so now the conversation is somewhat shifted. And I feel like forgiveness gives you the ability to tap into a different frequency and a different conversation with yourself and the people around you. And so, yeah, I feel like it helps us to get back to this childlike state that we were at when we were kids, where we felt like this sense of freedom, So, yeah.
That was a very abrupt stop.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing that. I just wanted, that was a very, I was like sitting there, and then you did, so yeah, and I was like, okay. Right.
Trying to be concise, you feel me? That's what I'm trying to do, you feel me?
But thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. It's do you guys, I know it's, so I think Sabrina just said earlier, like, you find it, you say it's easier to forgive and then holding on to it.
Yes.
You feel that same way, Lo?
Nope.
I'm with you. We here. We're here right now.
On the set, I feel some type of way. You feel justified in how you feel, especially when somebody does you wrong. And it sometimes, like, you clutch onto that more than anything else, because you're like, if I let this go, then that means that I'm saying what they did was okay, So you're like, nah, man, like, for me at least, I'm like, nah, man, like, man, bump that. I'm still upset. I'm still gonna stay upset. Stay. That person can, whatever.
The reason why I said it's easier for me to forgive and not forget, maybe like based on my life experiences, right? I have not had such traumatic like events where I know, first of all, you do me wrong, I'm gonna try to fight you, try to like actually get revenge. True Scorpio energy, try to get revenge. But at the same time, like, I've never had such traumatic experiences where I felt like I cannot forgive somebody.
Yeah.
So, like I said, majority of the times that I had to forgive was like, petty things that were said about me, things that were done to me behind my back, things that, like, somebody that tried to sabotage me at work, or some like little things that I'm just like, you're envious. I see your energy. I'm gonna block you. I'm gonna forgive you, but never forget. Like, if I cross path with you in the future, I know what you did.
Yeah.
Whether you know it or not, I know what you did.
Yeah.
Period. So that's it. Like, I don't know. I do not try to live my life with like this energy of like not forgiving, having envious energy about people, like, just,
Yeah.
We only live 2 days, to be honest. We're all gonna die eventually. So why carry all these emotions? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's difficult when you don't know that you need to forgive someone,
Right.
because our human reaction is to protect ourselves, and that includes protecting our emotions. And so when anything happens to you that's traumatic or bad, we automatically go to, okay, well, I'm going to protect myself from this situation.
Right.
And so part of that means that you're going to have emotions that, put a block between you and that person. So sometimes we don't know that we need to forgive someone, but a great indication of it is if you feel like you can't be in that person's presence, if you feel a weight, like your chest starts to tighten up, or like your energy
Bad
shifts.
feeling.
Yeah, your energy shifts when you're around this person. That's a great indication that, hey, maybe there's something that I need to look into as far as my relationship with this person,
Right.
or just my relationship with myself. So yeah, but I think once you start the process of forgiveness, it's also difficult because healing is difficult, and forgiveness means being willing to let the pain go, which also means being willing to face and really look at what happened and how you really felt. And sometimes that can feel like it's life threatening. So, yeah.
Wow.
Sabrina, since you're the one who have you ever had anything that you haven't do you have anything that you haven't forgiven yet?
No.
Why Lo look Lo, I know you have, right? So I know you have.
What was the look about?
Yeah, I was looking at that too, like, yo.
You know,
Seriously, what's the look about?
I think she does, but I know her personally, so it's different.
Say it in my ear.
Hey, how you doing, little mama? Let me whisper in your ear.
How about you, Lo?
What was the question?
Do you have something in your life? Do you have a situation in your life that you haven't forgiven?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm working on forgiving, and it's a process. But yes, absolutely. And I feel like right now too, 2021 has been hell.
And it's only February.
2021?
Like, yes, 2021 has been, the ending of 2020 to the beginning of this year so far has just been hell. There's just been a lot that's been happening. And so I still think I'm in the process of like forgiving, just in a lot of different areas in my life. But yeah, I'm working on it, and I know that I'll get to the point where it's fully let go of. But
Yeah, I mean, I still have one situation that I haven't forgiven. But it's just, I don't know. For me, like I said before, I don't see it being forgiven in the future. Anytime this person's name is mentioned, like I do feel that like anger still. And for me, I guess also the fact of it is that I'm not like me. I'm just whatever. Like I expect human beings to be human beings, and everybody makes mistakes, right? And so for me, my thing, and I always tell people is like, sometimes people is not always malicious. Sometimes people are just stupid. And then that's just what it is. So like,
they just don't know better.
Yeah, I say stupid, but anyway.
Aware sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm like, sometimes people mistake malicious intent for people not knowing. But for me, it's the only situation in my life that happened like probably like 6-7 years ago, but I still hold on to it. It's the fact that when you go out on a limb for someone and they play you, that's when I like really, really like I get upset. Like I like, yo, like, I'm saying, like it's just not, when I put myself out there on a line and then you do something and then just to risk that, and then you just like kind of play me like I'm like like some poo putt out here. You know what I'm saying? I just don't rock like that. So I don't, that's I just can't forgive that. I can't forgive that at all. So it just, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard for me to forgive. Like it's easy for me to forgive like bull. Like I got into fist fights with my friends. You know what I'm saying? And we've been cool afterwards, right? But I just like, there's certain things like I can forgive that, but there's certain things I just like. There's one thing in my life that I just haven't forgave. So I don't know. It's a little complicated. I don't know.
But what is what is the line that nobody can cross
I
that you
would-
can't forgive?
Yeah, I was about to ask the same question. What is the thing that you see as unforgivable?
Pause. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think just the taking advantage. I think taking advantage because I think, like I said before, when I see that it's malicious and it's intentional,
Yeah.
that's what I can't forgive. If it's like something like you just like you don't know or something like that, or it was just like something that you made a mistake, cool. But like I usually give people multiple chances to like see what's up, and then once you fail all those chances, and I see that you're really taking advantage of me, then at that point down that I can't forgive that. And then at that point I feel like I feel in my mind I want violence, but I would never act it out. But in my mind I want violence.
Hey, me too. I be thinking of the most diabolical plans in my head. Like, ooh,
Yo,
I just did this.
there was one time there was something happened like it was like 8 years ago to me, and somebody took advantage of me. My mind went to really kicking in the door and laying everybody on the ground. Like I was really, I swear to God, that was my mind right
Different. I react the moment I find out.
there.
And that's why it's easier for me, I think, to forgive. Once you sit on it and like think about the situation, I'm very reactionary, like, and that's to a fault. To like something happens, I react to it, I fight, I yell, do whatever at that point, and walk away. You beat me up, I beat you, we both tied up. Like I walk away, I go home, shower, done. Like at least I tried, to get some sort of a like, but it's different with y'all because y'all go home and think about.
Nah, man, I be thinking about things that I could have said. I literally play out scenarios. First of all, I automatically am just an overthinker. So I think of every possible scenario for every single situation. So I'm always prepared. So if you do something to me, I'm thinking. And the thing is, I'm like one of those like karma will get you type of people. You feel me? So I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna just sit back and wait, sit back and watch. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to put too much energy into. I don't want my character to be impacted because of your actions.
Right.
But I do think you said like those people who do things maliciously, right? People who have malicious intent for hurt people, right? And people who have malicious intent are people who have their own issues. And I feel like in the process of forgiveness, if you're truly forgiving someone, it gives you access to understanding why they did something. It doesn't necessarily mean that you think that what they did was right? It doesn't mean that you change how you feel about like whether it was right or wrong in your eyes, but I feel like it gives you insight in being able to see why. So like, for example, if somebody is abusing someone else, right? It could be because of the situations and the things that they've been through. And we don't necessarily have that conversation until forgiveness comes up. That's when we are actually able to have a dialogue and see, well, why is it that you did this? And some people are forthcoming about it, and some people are narcissistic and selfish, and are unwilling to take accountability and see their faults. And that's okay. But I feel like I've come to the realization, and I've found peace around the fact that people who do things out of malicious intent have their own demons and things that they're dealing and processing with that will continue to weigh them down regardless. So I'm not going to put my energy into hating them, right? I'm going to live my life for me. That doesn't mean that you have to keep people in your life. Just because you forgive people does not mean that they need to stay in your life. Not everyone in your family, friends, colleagues, whatever. Not everyone should have access to all of you or any of you. You get to make that choice. But when you're able to at least process that person is another human being, that's when you can walk away with just more understanding of humans, and how we operate as a species. So, yeah.
I Nah, fam, not for me. I'll tell you that right. Nah, fam, not
Like,
happening.
I was about to open the door and that's
So are so do you ever act on any of the things that you think about? Like,
no
because you are
You
you
talking
ever
about violence?
no, not violence, but
Oh.
like
petty
petty.
things.
Like what? I guess.
Like, do you do things that you know like are gonna be petty towards that person? Like, I don't know. For example, let's say I have an issue with, I don't know, somebody that I know. And I know that,
Certain
they
things
can't
trigger
eat.
them. Yeah.
Let's say I have an issue with like a coworker, right? And I know that they hate, chocolate
Or shrimp
muffins,
or whatever.
whatever. And usually I bring an assortment, but this time, instead of bringing my assortment that I would usually bring, I bring just chocolate only. You see how quickly I was able to come up with that? You know what I'm
Yo.
It felt
saying?
like it happened. It felt like it happened for real.
No, it did it. I never act on the petty thoughts that I have.
Yo,
but
you're
you know
so
what I'm
petty.
saying? But you know what I'm saying? Like, people do that. So do you ever act on the petty thoughts that you have?
No, I never act on it because you have those thoughts, but for me, it's like when you look in the mirror, did you handle the situation right?
Right.
And for me, it's like when you look in the mirror, can you say, hey, are you happy at what you look at? And to be honest with you, like I never, I've had the thoughts, but acting on the petty thoughts is not something that I'm good at. So I haven't done that.
I
No.
swear we're so different.
Yeah, I don't act on them, but I'm great at coming up with them in my mind, and I process them in my
Zero.
mind.
I'm not good
And
at
then,
coming up.
and then I let it go.
Literally 0. I never thought of something that, like, I could do something petty as a reactionary
Oh no.
to the situation at that moment. But for me to go back to my home, sit down.
It doesn't have to be back in your home. It could be, because for me, okay, this is how I think.
I'm learning so much.
This is how I think. Okay, so first of all, I'm not a reactive person. I calculate things. I'm not really an analytical person, but I calculate things. I'm a very calm person under any situation. It's kind of a little bit scary. But let's say, for example, somebody's saying something to me or doing something that I don't like, right? For me, I can process what they're saying and think of what my response is going to be, and say the response that I know is like character driven, and still have the thought and the idea of the most pettiest thing that I can think of. It's probably because I'm a creative person in general, but yes, I can literally look at somebody and have a conversation with them, and they'll talk whatever they're talking, and I can be like, you know what? I respect your opinion. I totally understand. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, you lucky I didn't say this to you. And I'm gonna walk away knowing that I did the right thing. And then I walk away.
Yo, we're so different, because if I don't like you, you will notice it in my face. My face will never.
But you can not like someone without being petty. And I feel like when you give someone the pettiness, that's when they've gotten you. That's when the emotion, that's when that is bigger than, for me, my character and how I feel, and how, like you said, looking at myself in the mirror, knowing that I did the right thing, even though nobody else was watching, allows me to walk in front of my siblings and be like, hey, I know you feel like saying this to this person, but trust me, if you walk away, you're going to walk away feeling like this, and you're going to be able to have a different level of integrity in all the areas in your life, So there's like a cost benefit, but I'm human. So I'm going to have like my emotions, my emotional feelings about the situation. But anything that you do, anything you say, you can't take back. And anything you do, you can't take back.
And you can't take back the way that you made somebody feel.
Yes. And because I know the impact of saying something or doing something, I can keep it in my mind and let it go, because I know it's not worth it. That temporary feeling of satisfaction is not going to be worth the impact that you created on that other person. And I feel like that's something that the culture that we live in, is cool to be petty. It's cool to do things to people if they do things to you. But it's like, it takes more. And I was just having a conversation with I don't know if I told you too, but I was just having this conversation with one of my best friends, and I was telling her people think I'm weak because of how I respond to situations, because I'm not always the loudest, and because I choose to handle
We had this
things.
conversation.
Yeah, I choose to handle things in a way that I handle them, but it takes more to do that. It takes much more to do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Being calm in a situation takes a lot of energy rather than just like throwing the glass of water you got on somebody's face, like true reality TV. But like, you know,
I mean, yeah, I think that's one of my strengths is really being calm in most situations. I think in previous relationships is actually like I'll be calm while somebody they be mad that I'm calm. Be upset, like, and I was like, yo, I don't know what else to do. I don't want to match the energy because there's two people yelling and it don't make sense. You don't get anywhere. You guys, Lo said this in the beginning though, like, well, earlier. So do you believe in karma? Because I know we had this conversation before, and I was like, karma don't always come around for everybody, G.
I believe in it because I feel like even if you don't see the impact of it emotionally, when people do things to you, their character and how their integrity gets shifted in some way, especially when you don't take accountability for things. So that's why, like, when my siblings, I always tell them it's important to take accountability for things because one, you don't know the impact of what you're doing, and two, who you are as a person is going to be shifted because of that. So even if I don't see it in my, like, physically, like, oh, they lost their job or oh, something like that happened to them, I'll still see it in the way that they're able to connect with people, or in the way that they're able to fully reach the level of success that they want to reach. So, or it could be the opposite. It could be that nothing happens to that person, but because you chose to do the right thing, you have a newer sense of understanding on what you can handle. You have a newer sense of resilience. So either way, I feel like karma, you either gonna get good karma, you know what I'm saying, or that person is gonna get whatever karma they get for what they're doing to you. But regardless, like, everything balances out. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Tell this to my siblings all the time. For every
you
action,
just told me this like a day ago or 2 days ago.
I say it all the time because I really believe it. I see it in my life, and I see it in the lives of people that are around me. What you do matters. You might not know the impact of it until 10 years from now when you look at yourself in the mirror, but you'll know the impact of it, when the right time comes. So do the right thing when no one's watching. Do the right thing and take accountability for the things that you didn't even know that you did, because it changes the level of quality for your own life.
Right. And that is a really important fundamental piece of, like, the teachings of Islam, like being kind in general, whether it's in public and private, just being always kind and always leading with kindness. That does not mean that, you showcase yourself that you're a kind person, blah, 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 but also it, like, gives you a sense of fulfillment that you did the right thing at that moment. Somebody was being spiteful and mean and hurtful, and you chose kindness, or you chose to just walk away.
Right.
That would ensure that you have a better life outcomes. You're not, I don't know, overall the energy around you will be peaceful. You're just, I don't know. But I do think that leading with kindness and not always being a bigger person, because that's sometimes hurtful too. Like, why am I always the bigger person? Why am I always the bigger person? But walking away is always the best option, because you don't want to say something that will eventually hurt you and hurt that person. And you don't know how that person was feeling that day too. So I think, yeah. But for me, I'm gonna throw the cup of water I have in your face. Do not try me.
So what drives your how can I say it? What drives your forgiveness meter, I guess? Like what makes you what drives that? Like, is it religion? Is it, experience? What drives it to be able to do the forgiveness that you do? instead of being like, like we said before, like being petty or
Like,
violent, or eye for an eye or something like that? Like, what drives that?
when I was younger, I'm not a good fighter. I'm not. I say all this like rah, 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 rah,
That's why
physically.
she be.
Yo, some real murder shit, B. That's all that.
I'm not physically a good fighter, right? So I would assess the situation. Like if I did not have my two minions, Miriam and Zemzem, like I would not do anything. But I feel like the older I got, religion was it's a big part of the way I live. So like religion is a big force of like learning how to forgive, but also like, man, like if you go out of your way to be mean or hurtful to me, then there's something wrong with you that you need to assess. So I'm not even gonna worry about you. Like that's why I find it easier to just cut you off of my life. Like I forgive and you're cut. Your energy is not around me. You're just not there. You're not part of my life. You're not part of my equation. I don't even consider you anymore. But I would say like life experiences and life is hard. Imagine me walking around holding grudges. Like life is hard. Like life is already hard. We're struggling out here in this earth,
Panoramic.
floating around. We're just tiny objects in this earth floating around in this universe. So it's just like it's not that deep. Just holding grudges is not something that I wish upon anybody, but I understand the severity. Sometimes you need to hold a grudge because somebody did something harmful to you. Totally understand that. But yeah, life experiences, and I think religion is the way I try to live my life. Like the teachings of Islam, I try to use that every day to kind of better myself. So
Yeah. I would say faith. So definitely like from a spiritual standpoint, just knowing that if you don't forgive someone, you're blocking your blessings.
right.
But I would also say purpose. That definitely drives me because I want to be the best version of myself for my siblings.
For you too, yeah.
Yeah, for me, but for my siblings, for my future children, really for my siblings. And, they mean everything to me. And for me, I need them to see that anything is possible.
Right.
And in order for them to see that, they have to see that the tangible, that the daily things, the things that we oftentimes overlook, the things that, we deal with individually, because we don't really know what hurt, pain, trauma people are walking around with, right? And even though you could be related to someone, you might not know the extent of pain that they might be dealing with. And so for me, I think it's important for my purpose to really make sure that I'm always seeking forgiveness. And that's a really difficult process because you have to come to terms with facing yourself, the situation. But that's what gives me the strength to push on. And so you have to have a reason for why you're forgiving. Most of the time people don't forgive just because. They forgive because they feel like they don't want to deal with being angry around this person every single time. They don't want to, be at family functions and not able to, not have anxiety. Like they don't want to, keep on hitting a roadblock in their relation. Like there's always a reason why. So I feel like it's always important to find out the purpose for the forgiveness, and then maybe your faith or whatever it is that you need in order to push through and get to that space of forgiveness. You'll be able to find like that vehicle for yourself. But I would definitely say the two are intertwined.
Right.
I would say for me, is more, I guess since I'm not religious, is more of a, for me, I kind of simplify things, right? So I just like, why so many bad things in this world, why add to it, right? So that kind of guides me on my but I think that also guides me in the way that I hold grudges as well, because for me, karma is like, I don't know, karma for me is just, I don't believe in karma. But I think sometimes karma is like a good way for people to be like, hey, I should keep doing good because this will someday come back. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, every reaction has a reaction to it or whatnot to it. Like,
Equal and opposite reaction, right?
is it equal? Is it always equal or opposite?
For every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction.
Or opposite. Okay. Yeah. So for me, I always think things are random. Things just happen. This is what it is. I don't believe in no laid set plan. I don't believe in there's no thing that's twirling things around to make stuff happen. I think things just happen. But with that being said, is that even since things just happen, you know what I'm saying? Like, why not just add to the good things that happen, not the bad things? But what forgiveness comes in consideration for me is just the fact that, huh?
That sounds like that's your why. That's why you do it.
Yeah. But just the consideration of the thing is just like, for me, again, I just go back to what I said. It's just the fact of it is like, I understand you said the thing about like what people are going through and trauma and everything like that. For me, it's like, for me to get to the point where I feel like I am holding a grudge for a long time is really gotten deep, because you already know my saying, and my saying is not that deep. That's always been my saying. But when things do get deep, I will hold a grudge to the day I die about it. Not saying that I like think about it every day or anything like that, but just like the fact of it is just like something was done to me that I feel so angry about that I'm not gonna let you. Yeah, I can't do anything to you, but I won't allow you in my life, and I'm a dislike you forever type deal. So
Okay. Wow. I learned a lot from recording this. Y'all are just different motherfuckers. Just kidding. We never got, I feel like I talked to you guys a lot, but I never got this side of you yet.
I mean, to be honest with you, one of the things again, like I said last year, one of the things like having to be able to find forgiveness is being able to reflect on yourself a little bit. And I think I've talked about this before. Like last year, I kind of sat with myself and like thought about things and things of that nature. And like, you have to really get yourself together. And you, like I said, nobody's ever going to get themselves all the way together, right? There's always something going on. But you have to be able to have set foundations in yourself and working on yourself. And then at that point, be able to articulate like the forgiveness that you're working on to that person. For me,
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you need forgiveness for? If you guys are willing to share it. Or when was a situation that you didn't deserve forgiveness, but you received it anyways? Because it's both ways.
Either or?
You can do either or. Because it's both ways. We do things too that require people to forgive us. And so, yeah, either or. Drop mic.
You ain't got no mic.
Y'all should have sent these questions before.
Oh.
Hey.
Low did that one. I would say one. You said that I asked for forgiveness for, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, something you either asked for forgiveness or a situation where you received forgiveness but you didn't deserve it.
The one that I asked for forgiveness.
Okay, go ahead.
One thing that I asked for forgiveness is I think I talked to this woman a couple of weeks ago, but a previous relationship that I didn't hold my end of the bargain with. Not saying I cheated or anything like that, but the fact of it is that being with somebody on and off for so long and not admitting to myself and my feelings for that person, and then not handling them accordingly, and communicating myself and how I felt about things, even if they were good or bad. I like, and taking accountability, like you said before, like, hey, I fucked up. It's not all on you. It ain't, and but I fucked up, and I'm gonna take that, and I'm gonna take that L on that, and being able to, and to be able to say that, and not saying that I was forgiven or anything like that, but just to let somebody know that what happened wasn't malicious, because I hate to see somebody that you care about to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying, I think that you maliciously did something to them when that's not my intention at all. So that's the one time I would say that I was that's the only time I ever asked for forgiveness from somebody, to be honest with you.
Wow. Big man things. We love it.
Yeah, you next, nigga.
Yeah.
Don't be all that shooting you doing like that.
Pshum, pshum, everybody gonna die. Pshum, pshum, everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
Adora
really
had to
do
know.
not like this top. I never like maybe like when I piss off my parents that I ask for forgiveness, but that's, I mean, every child pisses off their parents in some way, some capacity, that you ask for forgiveness. But y'all, I really do not be asking for forgiveness like that. Like maybe I should reevaluate my life. I really don't. Now I feel like such a bad person.
You should have.
But I try to lead everything with like a pure intention, right? I do not want to harm anybody. I do not have malicious intent for anybody. So I don't know. Like I don't do things that would require me to ask for forgiveness. But if anybody watches this episode and I've done you wrong, please slide in my DMs and we'll talk about it.
And keep in mind, intentions usually don't matter. Attention, just because you have the best intentions doesn't mean that,
Yeah.
That's what, if I harmed you in any way, in any shape or form, slide in my DMs, because on God, wallahi, I'd be forgetting things. I forgot the drink I had about 10 minutes ago. So I did not mean to harm you. So slide in my DMs and we'll talk about it. You love.
So I have a really close friend. We're still friends to this day. She shared something personal with me. I didn't know how to handle it. So I asked advice from my other close friend, but it was definitely something that shouldn't have left the conversation that I had with my friend. Regardless of however difficult it was for me to process it, it still should have been something that I kept with me and my friend. And so I realized after having not a rocky, but kind of having like a weird space between the friend that I told, and we were kind of like figuring out if we were still going to be friends. I realized, I was like, dang, if I'm not friends with this person anymore, they have this information on a person that I love dearly, and I'm the one who gave that information up, even though it didn't have ill intent, even though it was about me trying to be better so that I could better help my friend through the situation. It still was something that in hindsight I was like, oh wow, she probably would be hurt by knowing this. And so I told her, and I was like, I'm sorry. And I took accountability for the situation. And I feel like when you ask for forgiveness, there's forgiveness alone isn't enough. You have to show it through time and consistency that this is something that won't happen again.
And knowing that the other person has the right to not forgive you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But she knew my intention and she knew my heart. And so she forgave me like that, which was not what I was expecting. And she's just like one of the most kindest, most beautiful people inside and out. I love her dearly. And so she taught me something that, I didn't necessarily know. Like I've always kept information confidential. But now it was like a new level of confidentiality, because sometimes we like leeway certain things. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, it was a good learning lesson for me. And for me, I don't think it's major things. I think that asking for forgiveness doesn't have to be, can you please forgive me? But I think it's about taking accountability for how we impact people. And so if anybody has like a reaction that isn't positive to something that you say, right? Or if something gets dismantled within a relationship with you and another person, there's always an area for growth for you. You know, even if you think that you did everything absolutely right, there's always an area that you're blind to. Because I was just talking to one of my friends about this recently too. We only see things from our point of view because we experience life from our point of view. And so right now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm experiencing this. But before this, like, you, for whoever's watching, I didn't exist to you. I wasn't in your world. You were not thinking about me at all, you know, but the experiences that I have and the experiences that you have are the things that we filter and talk to people through. And so I think if you want to be a better human being, it's important to, instead of going with your gut reaction, which is I'm justified in feeling how I feel, or I'm right in this situation, it's going to take some courage, but taking a look and saying, okay, what is it about the situation that created this outcome? What is it about this situation that had this person respond this way? And it's not something that you can figure out on your own. It can only be something that happens in dialogue with you and the person that you're speaking to. So I think that's one thing that I definitely carry on in my life. And I know a lot of my friends are like, you're a neutral party in a lot of situations. And that's because I take a look at both perspectives. So I'm able to speak to both perspectives. Because I realize, yes, because I realize that the world is not just seen from my point of view alone. And the more that you're willing to take a look at someone else's point of view, the more that the world expands for you, and the more that you can actually have deeper connections with people around you.
Right. I mean, nothing is linear.
Yeah.
Everything is like curves and, you know, potholes and things in life. So,
and you can continue to stay the same and do the same exact things and never grow. But if you're trying to grow and reach a new level in whatever area, I'm not saying this specifically to you. I'm just saying, if you want to reach a new level, or if you're hitting the same problems over and over, then that's a great place to start.
How do you hypothetically, how do you deal with,
what'd you say?
How do you hypothetically deal with, how do you guys deal with when you seek forgiveness and you don't get it?
It is what it is, B. Just kidding. I don't know.
Well, I think if you go into it expecting to be forgiven, you're gonna be disappointed and you're gonna be in your feelings and your ego is gonna get in the way.
Right.
But I think that if you were coming with the expectation of just hearing that other person's point of view, regardless of the outcome, you know that you did everything that you possibly could do.
Right.
And that person, if they're hurt, will in the conversation tell you in some way, some form, what it is that's missing or what it is that's broken. And sometimes there's things that we do that people are not going to be able to automatically forgive us for. But we have to give people time to process. We have to give people time to have forgiveness. We have to give people time to deal with the impact of our actions.
Right.
And if you're not allowing that other person to deal with it, then that means your intentions aren't pure.
Right. You're asking forgiveness. You should always hear the other party and allow them to react and do whatever they want. Because at this point, you're the one who's asking for forgiveness. So going into this like forgiveness piece, expecting to get positive results, that's very narcissistic. I think that's very
you're going with an agenda.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna be forgiven. Things will be fine. That's stupid.
And yeah, that definitely is a selfish trait for sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, I agree. I think also going in and then like, even if you don't know, even if you don't know, you might not speak to that person ever again, and you don't know. Right. That's just something I think we've had this discussion before where like you gotta live with it. You know what I'm saying? as long as you went in there and you accepted accountability for what happened and you were sincere about what, your apology, like Sabrina said, that person doesn't have to accept your apology at that moment. They don't never have to accept your apology at all. But that's something that you just got to live with. You know what I'm saying? The consequences of your actions. So I guess that's it for this episode. Who turn is it next time? Ooh, it's Lowe's turn. Okay, it's Lowe's turn next time. Sabrina's over there posing. I don't know, I don't know when we're gonna do it again because these two in Atlanta setting the city on fire right now. So I have no idea. But everybody be safe and peace out.